Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I mean, I think at this point there might be interest from all three sites, which is great.
Because of all the publicity we had after the first show.
Well, yeah, and you know, just to kind of get that out of the way, because, you know, I think you've been asked about this, you posted online about it, but, you know, how was that for you, having right out of the blocks, maybe getting the first, maybe critical feedback show out of the way right first thing?
It's, you know, there's no point in dwelling on what it could have been. It was what it was, and the good thing is that we'll never do another show that bad. Mm-hmm. We got our worst show ever out of the way right off the bat.
Right. I mean, I think I don't know if you're much of a sports fan, but I think you can almost kind of compare it to, you know, a team, a football team, let's say, coming out and getting blown out the first game, or you know, scoring a few points maybe, but not the win that they envisioned or whatever.
Yeah. No, that's a good analogy.
Right.
And then of course the head coach is going to be criticized for everything. Like, what was he thinking?
Right.
No, that's a good analogy. I like that.
Now, having gotten that out of the way right out of the bat here with the interview and stuff, the one thing I do have to say, you know, and viewing the clips and whatnot, is that you definitely, you know, you look like you're having a good time, which is great, because I think that's going to kind of set the tone for the rest of the live shows and stuff. And Ronnie as well. I mean, you two guys look pretty comfortable there on stage. Didn't see much of the drummer, but, you know, I think just with you two guys having that kind of presence and that confidence really sells it to the audience.
I mean, despite the difficulties we had on that first show, I still having a good time. It's
Right.
been a long time since I've played in front of a crowd, and Darren might have not won too many fans that night, but every time I looked out in the audience and would get eye contact with somebody, I immediately get a "I love you, Jake"
Right.
from them. So I was still having a good time up there.
Right. And you know, one of the things I want to get into is a little bit of kind of what's happened with you throughout the years, but I think I want to make sure we get album stuff or album and band related stuff right out of the bat and get that covered, just to make sure we get the proper promotion for this particular project. But I guess the first question is, how'd the name come about? I mean, that sounds, you know, it sounds kind of mafia-like in a way.
I've got to think up a good story for that, because there really isn't one. I think it was basically Kevin Churko's idea.
Okay.
We were trying to think of what to call it, and Kevin came in the studio and he's like, I always thought Cartel would be cool. Jake's half Japanese, Dragon Cartel, and I think that was the first. It was Dragon Cartel,
Right.
And then somebody said Black Dragon Cartel,
Right.
which is kind of a better name. It just sounds better, Black Dragon. But there's so many black
Right.
named bands, you know, Black Sabbath, Black Label Society, Black
Right.
Oak, and so, well, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
There's a million. So we went through the whole color range, you know, looking for the right one. And kind of the cool thing about it is, if we decide to make a blues record, then we can be the Blues Dragon Cartel. Or
Yeah, there you go.
Or if we decide to do a Sabbath tribute, we'll be Black Dragon Cartel. And you know, or if we do EDC, then we can be Pink Dragon Cartel.
Now, my question
we have the whole rainbow.
Right. Well, my question is what if you decide to do like a country rock record?
Oh,
There you go. You know?
What color would that be?
I'm thinking more
maybe
like
yellow.
brown.
Yeah, Pinto colored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we'll be doing that though.
yeah, you know, And here's the deal with the record, because I did get that from Kevin, and this is kind of one of those records, because I remember here recently I was talking to David Ellefson from Megadeth, and they kind of had their record come out, and then people had a reaction to it, but then that's kind of one of those records that you have to listen to multiple times. And I think one of the things that I do with reviewing albums is that before I even write anything, I have to listen to something a minimum of 6 times. And I think as I listened through the Red Dragon Cartel record, I think at first I think you sequenced it pretty well in the sense that you put out Deceived as the lead track to this. And I don't know if you would agree, but that would be the track that would really grab the old school Ozzy fans, at least from the Jake era, because it does have that kind of furious kind of Jakey Lee guitar sound and riff right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it's very Bark at the Moonish in that was the last song we wrote on the record, and it was because I was driving to the studio and I heard Bark at the Moon on the radio, which I hadn't heard in a long time, and it's a very distinctive guitar rhythm, and I realized at that point, well, I've never written another song like that, not even when I was in Ozzy, and let's have fun. Let's see if I can write another riff that's reminiscent of that, and that's how that came about. But as far as the overall record, yeah, what I like about it, and what I've heard other people mention, is that it has a couple of songs that'll grab you right away. Deceived, Feeder, maybe Shout It Out. There's songs that you like, well, hopefully, right away.
Right.
And then there's other songs that, as you listen to the record, other songs start growing on you that you might have glossed over the first listen. And so I am happy that the record's like that, where it's one of those ones where you can play it over and over and all of a sudden discover, oh, I never even thought about this song, but now I really like it. It's one of those kind of records, I think.
Right, and it really is, I think, because the other thing, like as I was mentioning to you, the first run through, it was kind of like, well, I like this song, that song, that song. I'm like, well, there's only like 3 or 4 songs that really pop out at me. And then as you listen to it, I'm like, well, wait a minute, now I like over half the record. And then before you know it, you're like, I really like the Maria Brink song, because that's almost a departure from the there's a lot of songs that are a departure from the next song and the song that comes thereafter, but I would say that Deceived, Shout It Out, and Slave are definitely killer songs. I think Deceived, again, like you said, has that Ozzy riff, where you plagiarized yourself, basically, is what you're saying. Shout It Out, again, that's kind of a modern rock, but not so modern that it would turn off the old school fans. I like what you did with Slave in the sense that, it starts off a particular way, and then it kind of has like this almost like neoclassical kind of burst to it,
Yeah, it's interesting that you would say that one. Yeah, that one's, I like it because it's a... Yeah, it goes from one to another. You think it's going to be a metal song.
Right. Right.
And then it goes into another section, and then it goes into the guitar, where it's almost, I wouldn't say it's rockabilly, but it veers a little bit over towards almost rockabilly, but it all works together, which yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
And then I think like you mentioned, you have the guests. You have Zander on Feeder. The Paul Di Anno track, though, that's another one that I think, just in listening to it and just kind of listening to his approach to the vocal, I think you guys could do that live. I think with the fellow you have singing in the band right now. I mean, and how did you go about getting Di Anno on this? Because he doesn't play on a whole lot of other people's stuff.
Yeah, in fact, I've never even met him. It was, we were trying to figure out singers to sing on songs, and we were listening to this one, and we couldn't think of anybody. I thought maybe Steven Tyler was my first choice, but I mean, he's not going to Even if he knows who I am, he's a pretty busy boy.
Right.
So we knew we weren't going to get Steven Tyler. So we're trying to figure out who the hell we can get to sing it. And Brent Fitz walked in the studio at that particular moment, and he's standing there. He's listening to it, and he just casually said, "Paul Di Anno," which was weird because I haven't even heard his name in, I don't know, 25, 30 years, it seems like. And I mean, I just looked at him astonished and said, "Where in the world, how did you come up with that name?" He said, "Oh, I was listening to some early Maiden on the way over here." But thinking back on it, because I loved early Maiden. I mean, I liked Iron Maiden, but the early stuff with Di Anno was more punk and more violent sounding to me, and I always loved those records the best. So it was a great choice, and that was totally because of Fitz. And so we put the word out on the internet. Anybody know how to get a hold of him? And we eventually found a way. Asked him if he would be interested. He said, send me the tracks. Let me see what I think. We sent him. He said, yeah, I'll do it. And he sent them back, and they sound great. And I hope to meet him someday and thank him for that.
Cool. Yeah, nice. And how did you wind up getting Zander on the record?
Well, that was the very first song that we wrote together, me and Ron, that we finished. Right. And so we were listening to the song, and Ron was singing on it. He was singing the melody. And Ron, man, he's a shitty singer. He's a horrible fucking singer. It's hard to listen to him sing. Right. So we're listening to it, and obviously, okay, we got to get a singer. Pretty much right away, I thought, well, I don't know how we'd ever do it, but Robin Zander would be awesome on this song. And Ron said, well, I know Tom Peterson. He's a friend of mine. Why don't I call him up? And I was like, oh, yeah, call him. And so he called him, and we sent the tracks to Robin, and he said he'd do it, and he did. He did that in Florida. We got the tracks back here. Ron mixed them into the song and said, come down to the studio. You need to hear this. So I came down, and that was when I heard Robin Zander and Tom Peterson and Jeremy from Five Finger Death Punch, who asked if he could contribute, playing all of these guys on this one song that finished writing maybe a week before. That was when I knew that I missed it. And it made me feel alive and excited, and that was a very pivotal moment for me.
So that the writing and then the recording of that particular song was the thing that kind of lit a fire under your behind, then, so to speak?
Yeah, because up to that point, it was very non-committal on my part. It was Ron and Kevin Churko approached me and asked if I would be interested in doing something, and I really wasn't. I was content. I had a good run with Ozzy and Badlands, and I didn't want to overstay my welcome. And by then, it's been so many years, I figured who's going to give a shit. So I was content with where I was, and so it was very non-committal. They said, well, just come in, write a song, do some recording, see if you feel like doing it. And that was, like I said, that was the first song we finished writing, and we got Zander on there pretty quickly after that. And that's when I knew. Yes, count me in.
Right. So, I mean, throughout the years where you had this downtime, where you were saying you were pretty happy, just kind of doing your thing. I'm not being really a touring musician or really in the music business, so to speak. I'm sure you read online. I mean, there's always people asking, what's up with Jake? I'm sure you saw that, and I'm sure you probably even went on message boards or had knowledge of message boards where people would start threads about, what's up with Jake E. Lee? You know what I mean? And you'd always seem to be like the guy that a lot of people wanted to know about because, people know you from the Ozzy stuff. And definitely Badlands. If they didn't know you from Ozzy, they knew you from Badlands, and then all of a sudden the guy disappears. not because there isn't an ability there or talent, but because you just did, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there was some. I would occasionally Google my name and to look for the latest rumors
right.
about me because it was very amusing. I mean, I was God, all kinds of stuff. I was a cripple. I remember that.
Right,
I was
right.
a cripple walking around on a cane.
Right.
I was homeless. I remember I was homeless, and my friends have a shop in town called Cowtown Guitars. I was homeless, and they were letting me sleep in their shop because I had nowhere else to go.
Right, right.
There was some really, I mean, it would crack me up.
Right.
It was funny. It was great to be able to do that. It amused me.
So at this point, then now you're up and running with the Red Dragon Cartel, and it looks like there's a lot of dates rolling out now. As far as even, I mean, going into early next year through spring. I mean, there's stuff that have popped out, like some Japanese dates. So I mean, this is a full-time thing now.
Yeah.
And how do you feel? How do you feel about that? And how do you prepare from going? You know, I don't want to say retirement, but just kind of a non musician mode, or you know, you're still a musician, but not a non-active musician role, to now gearing up for this tour.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing, but I've just today I received a bunch of notices about upcoming dates, and it looks like they're trying to kill me. There's like 4 or 5 shows in a row
right.
where they're hundreds of miles apart, so it's almost like performing, loading up, get in the truck, head to the next place, and do sound check. I need to actually talk to my booking agent and find out what's going on. If what I did to piss him off so much.
Well, here's the one thing. I mean, I'd really like you to have a Portland, Oregon date, because that's kind of what I'm closest to, and you know, I can't even remember the last time you personally were out this way. So, I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be Badlands. That'd be 20 years ago or so.
And I think it was 20 years ago. Actually, I'd have to go back and look at the ticket stub, but yeah, it has been a while. So I imagine the track with the Big Mouth. That's another one of those songs. That's the song you did with Maria singing on that one. That one again is a kind of a departure from most of the songs on the record, in the sense that it's more of a modern thing. Obviously, female vocal. But it does have a little more of a kind of almost electronical, kind of industrial type vibe to it. That, I imagine, came together because you played on their last record, right? And then there's the Kevin Churko connection as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that is, I guess, kind of the most modern sounding track on there. But it's really the oldest song. It's when I got into computers. I'd say mid to late '90s, and I discovered all the software that comes with computers that you can write music on your own. And that particular track is about 17 years old, I think.
Wow.
And it's the oldest song on the record.
Okay.
And the actual guitar tracks that opened the song were taken from my computer. So those guitar tracks are 17, 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
But it ends up sounding like the newest one.
Yeah, it sounds like 2000.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's 2013, basically.
I was ahead of my time.
Yeah, no kidding. and then I mean, I have to mention War Machine, another great track. You know, Redeem Me, which that's another female vocal. You brought in Sass Jordan, and how did that come about?
Sass, well, yeah, that's funny because she was touring with her band, Sun.
Yeah.
And they had a gig in Las Vegas. They did sound check, and they decided to go out and eat something. There's a restaurant next to the studio, and they were in that restaurant, and they were all friends with here's his name again, Brent Fitz.
Ah.
They're all friends with him, so they invited him down to the restaurant, and they were eating, and Sass had never heard of Badlands before, and
That's
and
amazing.
Brian's like a big Badlands fan, so he was constantly playing Badlands on their tour bus, and Sass eventually asked him, I said, who the hell is this? These guys are great. And Brian said, it's Badlands. It's like 20 years ago. Where have you been?
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know, but my God, I love these guys. And she started talking about it during dinner. And Fitz said, well, I don't know if you know this, but Jake's right next door recording his new record. And she's like, no way. So he brought her back there, and we met, and she told me what a huge fan of Badlands she was within the last couple of weeks. And it just seemed natural to ask her if she wanted to sing on one of the songs. And we played her Redeem Me, and she said, oh yeah, give me that, I'll sing the shit out of that.
Okay.
And she did.
Cool. Yeah, and I think you picked an interesting way of closing out the record with the piano piece. You know, I think that was just really unexpected. At first I was like, okay, this is starting off with with some piano, you know, and soon the guitar is going to kick in any time now, and it was just strictly a piano. I mean, it was definitely a brilliant move in the sense that you definitely didn't make it predictable.
Yeah, and that I got to give Ron credit for that, because that particular piece, I started on piano when I was 6, and I didn't start playing guitar till I was 12. I wrote that 40 plus years ago.
Wow.
When I still played piano as I think I was 13 or 14, whatever.
Okay.
And it was the first song I ever wrote. I wrote it on piano, and I never knew what to do with it. It's a nice piece, but it never fit into, say, Ozzy or Badlands or really any kind of a rock record. I never knew what to do with it. Anyway, we were, like I said, there's a restaurant next to the studios. We went in the restaurant late one night to get some drinks, and there was a piano there. And I just thought, wow, I haven't seen one of these in a while. I sat down, I started playing that, Exquisite Tenderness. And Ron said, what the hell's that? I said, it's the first song I ever wrote. Don't know what to do with it. It'll probably never be recorded. And it was Ron who said, oh, I know what to do with it.
Right.
He says, we're ending the record with that. And I was a little, seriously? We're going to end the Red Dragon Cartel with this?
Right.
And he said, yes, trust me. And so we recorded it, he put it on there, and it is a very interesting way to end a rock record.
Yeah, no kidding. And again, it was unexpected, and then you did throw a curve there with that one. So, good. I just got a couple more things, and then I guess I got to let you go because I don't want to suck up too much of your time. And hopefully down the way we get a chance to chat again when you play in Portland or whatever. But, in your time after Badlands, I mean, were you not a part of a band with Richard Black, who was in Shark Island at some point?
Oh, yes,
And
the Bourgeois Pigs.
what happened with that? Why did that not evolve or I guess move forward?
That was more of Michael Guy's project.
Okay, and he played with House of Lords, I think, for a period of time, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we were friends, and he just said he had this project, and who else was in it? Drummer was from Guns N' Roses, like Matt.
Sorum?
I can't remember. Sorum.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Right.
He said he had Sorum on drums, Tony Franklin on bass.
Blue Murder.
And they're both great players. And he said, I'm writing these songs. Do you want to come down and give them a listen? And so I listened to them. And he said, do you want to play on them? And I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And then we started recording, and Richard Black was on vocals. And some of those tracks I thought were pretty good. And but then Michael he's very into computers. He writes computer software. In fact, that's how he made his money, was that. And at that particular point, he was really involved in that. And he just called one day and said, "Look, this project is a lot of fun. It might even do something, but my money is in computers right now, and I have to go back to doing that because I need the money." So that's why that ended.
Okay. And then there was another band. I think this came. Was it before or after Wicked Alliance, where you worked with Mandy Lyon, who I think we first heard of, the fans, in World War III, where he played with Vinny and Jimmy Bain, right? What happened with that? I know you did record some demos there, I believe.
Yeah, it was that was right after Badlands, and I was trying to figure out who I was going to get to sing with me, because Ray Gillen, the most phenomenal singer I'd ever played with, I didn't know how to follow that up singer-wise, so my idea was to find somebody who wasn't really a singer, somebody who you couldn't compare to Ray Gillen because it was so far off that track that those comparisons wouldn't come, and Mandy was definitely like that. So yeah, we tried for a little while to get something going. I was hoping to make it more of a industrial heavy metal funk band. I wanted to try to explore a different avenue with it, and Mandy kept pulling it back towards straight metal, which I just wasn't particularly interested in doing at that time. And so that's how we ended our relationship.
Last question, Jake, and then I swear I will let you go. Let's say you're appearing on a late night show, and you get an opportunity to do 3 songs. What 3 songs would you play?
Wow. You mean if anybody's songs, or
anything from your catalog? Let's say. I mean, anything to promote yourself, the music, your back catalog, current songs, current music.
Okay, if I was more rehearsed, my preferences would be to touch on the Aussie era and do "Killer of Giants," which I would say is the song I'm most proud of during my time with Ozzy. I do "Killer of Giants," then I want to touch on Badlands. Oh God, there's so many to choose from there. I'd probably do "Sun Red Sun." I've always, that was off the 3rd demo that we did. And but I always thought it was a beautiful song, and Ray sounded so great on it. I would do "Sun Red Sun" from Badlands, and then I suppose I would have to do a Red Dragon Cartel. What song would I do if I could play any of them? Maybe, that's a hard one now. Yeah, probably "Feeder." Probably "Feeder," because that's the one that got me back in the game.
Good. Perfect. Hey, Jake, thank you very much, and I hope to do this again, and I hope to see you in Portland, Oregon in 2014. That would even be better.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna go up there.
Yeah.
How can we not? We have to.
You have to. And not only that, but maybe they'll give you a day off before that. That way you can rest up.
That would be nice.
All right. Thank you very much, Jake. We'll get you links. I'll send them to Kevin. And at this point, I hope to use it for all 3 sites. So triple coverage. So there we go.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. Take care, huh?
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.